We've been hearing a lot of talk about supply chains in 2020, whether it's the supply chain of your local grocery store trying to keep the toilet paper stocked, or tracking exactly what's in your medicine and where it came from. The supply chain industry is probably one of the best use cases for blockchain, second only to finance. And today, I'm going to tell you why. Let's get it. BitSwap is the hottest new way to trade tokens. Crawling all the top decentralized exchanges, BitSwap gets you the very best price and value for your trades. BitSwap is changing the game. Try it now at bitswapdex.io. Welcome to BitBoy Crypto. My name is Ben. Every day I show you how to make money in cryptocurrency. If you like money, then be sure to hit that subscribe button and breathe in that cheddar. In today's video, we're going to cover supply chain blockchains. We'll talk about things like how blockchain can improve supply chains, some of the major supply chain blockchain projects out there, and what is happening in the world right now that could benefit from the use of supply chain's digital ledger. Now, when you see the Made in tag on a t-shirt, it's pretty obvious what that tag means. The product was manufactured in that country and then passed through a number of gatekeepers on its way to you. I was made in America. The channels that a product passes through en route to a buyer is called the supply chain. Supply chains not only include the people and companies involved with selling a good or service, but also the activities, resources, and information shared between those parties during the transaction. You can basically think of a supply chain as the ecosystem that it takes to bring a product from the upstream supplier to the downstream buyer. I know exactly what you're thinking. And yes, a supply chain is like a school of bass swimming downstream at your favorite fishing spot. It starts from the upstream origin of a fish egg and ends downstream at your fishing line. Well, if you do it the right way anyways. That's right, a supply chain includes everything from the material that is harvested to make a t-shirt to the last mile of delivery that it takes for that t-shirt to arrive at your doorstep. Supply chains add transparency and immutability to a process that companies are always trying to improve. That's why the supply chain industry is set to reach over $37 billion by 2027, with a compound annual growth rate, or a CAGR, of 11.2%. However, supply chain companies are looking for ways to improve their solutions even further. That's where supply chain blockchains like VeChain come in. We believe on this channel that 2021 will be a massive year for the entire supply chain industry, especially for those in blockchain projects like VeChain. Right now, you might be wondering what makes blockchain such a strong technology for supply chains. You've heard the hype. You know the blockchain is no longer the cure-all elixir being peddled by a dude in a creepy mask in some traveling medical freak show. I mean, maybe it was in the 2017 alt season. There were a lot of people doing a lot of weird stuff during that time. We know that in 2020, blockchain cannot fix everything like we once thought. However, some elements of blockchain are perfect for the needs of the supply chain industry. Is the hype real? Or can the industry make it work? The biggest potential advantage that blockchains can add to the supply chain industry is decentralization. We love that word. Instead of multiple parties relying on one system in order to keep track of all of the elements of distribution, a decentralized supply chain ledger delivers the opportunity to eliminate reliance on a single party. Instead of centralized data storage, companies, as well as their upstream suppliers and downstream retailers, can have a distributed storage system with blockchain. That means there are multiple validated copies of the same information, thus more of an opportunity for accuracy. However, as time goes on, there will be more ways for blockchain to enhance supply chains. For example, look at the VeChain and Walmart partnership that was announced last week. According to an article in Crypto Newsflash, the partnership could create a platform which gives the Chinese government a supply chain equivalent of an official stamp of approval. In addition to the Walmart partnership, VeChain anticipates using blockchain to increase efficiency and transparency with China. In November 2020, VeChain was invited to a symposium, along with our longtime partner, DNVGL. Symposium was also attended by Chinese government officials. Topics of the symposium included healthcare and the emerging post-pandemic global economy. The potential of this partnership is obviously pretty substantial. If China chooses to pilot a product using VeChain supply chain blockchain, this would be very bullish for the VET token. In fact, VET has been up roughly 99% over the last month as the news broke out about the symposium and, of course, the Walmart partnership. Obviously, Bitcoin's bull market also helped, but an invitation to speaking with a leading authority like a country's government is a big deal. If a deal is officially announced, the price of VET can go up even further. Another reason the value of the token can increase is if the supply chain blockchain space increases as a whole. Typically, in an emerging market, the value of players within the market will rise if the entire market rises in general. With that said, let's talk about the potential of the supply chain blockchain industry. One major use case for supply chain blockchains is for pandemic vaccines. The World Economic Forum recently published findings from the pioneers of Change Summit that took place November 17th through the 20th, 2020. The findings were called Using Blockchain to Monitor the Global Pandemic Vaccine Supply Chain. In the report, the World Economic Forum mentioned how the sickness will require the first ever deployment of blockchain for a vaccine. The report also referenced how blockchain's immutability and decentralized database can help multiple parties ensure safety and proper handling for vaccine supplies. The biggest challenge is how to distribute the vaccine to every living person, and the World Economic Forum suggests the blockchain can help. However, some people say that supply chain blockchains are somewhat misunderstood and are not everything they are hyped up to be. During a podcast hosted by University of Pennsylvania's Wharton School, a supply chain industry veteran named Stéphane Gustafner, who co-leads the supply chain team at Boston Consulting Group, spoke about how blockchain is thought of as the only solution for supply chains. He said, "The advantage of blockchain over other technology is that information is available multiple times in the network, which means that it cannot easily be changed, it's immutable, it's trustworthy, and can be used by many parties. People, institutions, and companies seem to think that there is no alternative technology for some purposes in the supply chain. The assumption is that blockchain is the only solution and that it is good for everything in supply chain management. I think this is not at all true." So, in other words, while this supply chain economist thinks that blockchain is a strong technology for distributed information in an immutable and trustworthy way, there are some limitations on how the technology can be used. In general, there is a lot of potential here for the industry to run big, but in the world of crypto, nothing is guaranteed. So, what do you guys think? Can supply chain blockchains take off in 2021? Do you think that blockchain is a natural integration point for supply chains, or is it too overhyped? Never heard of anything being overhyped in crypto. Let me know down below in the comments section. Hey, that's all I got. Be blessed. BitBoy out.